After my hearing recovered, I was eager to go brag to my arch-nemesis, Chun, but I accidentally caught her staring at my photo. With a grievance-filled tone, she whispered, "Hubby, when will you finally like me?" So I decided to keep my recovery a secret and quietly watched her act. While her sign language clearly asked, "Why are you here again?" her spoken words were, "Hubby, you're finally here." The first thing I did after regaining my hearing was seek out my sworn enemy, Lu Nhu Yen, Chun, to show off. We had been rivals since childhood. During the 3 years I lost my hearing due to a car accident, she kept hovering around me, sometimes even using sign language just to argue with me. She actually went out of her way to learn it, just for that purpose. When I arrived at her company, the receptionist didn't stop me. They were used to my weekly visits to cause trouble. The receptionist smiled and nodded, and I headed to the elevator. Suddenly, I heard whispers behind me. "The boss's boyfriend is here again. Watch out, she'll be grinning all day today." I looked back curiously, and the receptionist immediately went silent. The boss they meant was Lu Nhu Yen. Since when did she have a boyfriend? Reaching the top floor. I pushed open her office door. She was alone on the sofa, staring intently at something, lost in thought. Before I could even get close, I heard her mutter, "Hubby, when will you finally like me?" Was she pining over someone? Curious, I stepped closer to see who the unlucky man was. When I saw the face in the photo, it looked incredibly familiar. My God, it was me! The photo looked like it was taken a long time ago. Lu Nhu Yen finally noticed me. Startled, she slammed the photo face down on the desk. "Why do you walk so quietly?" she snapped. Though she tried to act annoyed, for the first time I saw an unmistakable look of affection in her eyes. Does she actually like me? I decided to tease her and pretended I still couldn't hear. While her hand signed, "Why are you here again?" her mouth said. "Hubby, you're finally here." I used to think her constant mumbling was her taking the chance to insult me. Turns out, it wasn't. I signed to her, "Why did you take a secret photo of me?" I picked up the photo. It looked like a candid shot I didn't even know existed. She snatched it back, stammering, "This is mine, not yours." Then she whispered to herself, "The photo is mine, and the person is mine too." Her face turned bright red all the way to her neck. It was silly, but quite cute. As lunch approached, seeing her expectant gaze, I signed, "I'm hungry. Would Director Lu mind treating me to a meal?" She furrowed her brows and replied, "Did the county family go bankrupt? You have to beg me for a meal?" But her spoken, "I agree," was so loud I almost burst out laughing. As I turned to leave, she rushed to grab her coat and followed me. She tugged my sleeve and sighed, "I'm not so poor that I can't afford a meal. Let's go, my young master." I gently pulled my sleeve back and saw her eyes turn red, like a deserted puppy. I laughed and pulled her sleeve instead. "I left in a hurry and didn't bring my glasses, so I can't see clearly. You lead the way." It took her 3 minutes to react. She looked at me, then at my hand on her sleeve, trying to hide a smile. Under the sunlight, she signed. A grown man needs to be led by the hand? What an idiot. Down in the lobby, employees greeted me respectfully. "Hello, Mr. Company." It turned out they weren't just saying hello, they were calling me by name. Having guessed her feelings, I deliberately chose the most expensive Western restaurant downtown. Lu Nhu Yen has money, and she wouldn't refuse. The restaurant was beautiful, with floor-to-ceiling windows. A waiter greeted us warmly. "Are you two a couple? We have a 12% discount for couples." I was about to shake my head, but she beat me to it. "Yes, this is my husband. He can't hear well. Please arrange a quiet seat." After the waiter left, I pretended to be oblivious. "What did he say to you?" She signed, "He said I was too beautiful, so he wanted to give us a discount." Talk about being overconfident. While eating, a voice I despised behind me called out, "County and gone." I didn't turn around. The man walked up and touched my arm. "Forgot you're a deaf guy now." I looked up at the overly surgeried face of Ko-hai, my stepmother's son. His mother had driven my mother to her death to take her position. Ko-hai always tried to bring me down. I ignored him and kept eating. Ko-hai didn't stop. "The girl with him?" asked. "Honey, who is this?" He sneered. "Just a piece of trash my father's ex-wife left behind. He's deaf and useless now." Think he can still fight me for the inheritance? I truly found him pitiably stupid. He and his mother probably didn't know that my father never owned any shares. My grandfather, knowing my father's character, had transferred everything to me when I turned 18. I planned to ignore the drama, but then Lu Nhu Yen accidentally knocked over a glass of hot water onto County High's hand. He screamed in pain. "What are you doing?" She shrugged innocently. "Sorry, I did it on purpose. Don't mind." "Wait, I didn't do it on purpose." Her smile was pure provocation. Kohai was furious, but knew she was not someone to mess with. Kohai was livid, but knowing Nhu Yen was not someone to be trifled with, he bit his tongue and turned to leave. Nhu Yen blocked his path. "You haven't apologized to County Ingon yet." Kohai reluctantly muttered a half-hearted apology. But she wasn't satisfied. Just a verbal apology? If you don't know sign language, can't you learn right now? Did you leave your phone at home, or were you just born without a brain? I lowered my head, struggling to stifle my laughter. It was so difficult that I had to bury my face in my food to hide it. Kohai gritted his teeth. "Nhu Yen, don't take this too far." "Oh, believe me, I can take it much further than this," she replied. Kohai's face darkened at her words. Finally, after 10 minutes of clumsy fumbling to learn the signs, he managed to signal 2 words. "I'm sorry." After they left, I looked at Lu Nhu Yen and signed, "Thank you." "No need to thank me," she replied. "I just can't stand seeing the son of a mistress acting so arrogant." I continued eating in silence, but then I heard her mutter, "I don't want a simple thank you, I want you to kiss me." I nearly spat out my wine. Nhu Yen quickly handed me a napkin. I could only play it off by pretending I had choked. My face was burning. I accidentally blurted out, not in sign, but in a real voice, "You idiot." Nhu Yen looked at me in shock and signed, "What was that?" I shook my head, trying to hide the embarrassment in my eyes. It was truly getting hard to pretend to be deaf in front of her. This girl, she really was one person on the outside and another in her heart. Later, she handed me a business plan to review. Who would have thought someone as sharp as her could produce such a flawed plan? I wondered if her brain had short-circuited. She then snatched the plan back and said aloud, "Can't you see the issues with this project? Honestly, I don't even want it. Anyone can see it's a massive loss." I know that, I thought. I'm deaf, not blind. Nhu Yen leaned back on the sofa, looking provocative. "Since you can't hear me calling this project trash, is it worth your wife wasting her time? My husband, I'm giving you $2 billion. Can't you look at me with a bit more affection?" I really wanted to say fine. After all, it was $2 billion. But Nhu Yen frowned and signed, "What's with that look? Are you planning more mischief?" I had never paid close attention before, but I had to admit, Nhu Yen was stunning. Ever since we were kids, I thought she was a beautiful fairy. I even kissed her once, and that's where our destiny began. But contrary to my imagination, she didn't hate me for that kiss. I blinked and signed to tease her. "You really are beautiful." Teasing Nhu Yen was an irresistible pleasure. She froze for a second, her eyes wide, then quickly signed back, "Are you crazy?" Her face was crimson, clearly embarrassed, but her mouth said, "Do you want to kiss me?" I backed away slightly to keep some distance. Sometimes, I genuinely worried about her mental state. She isn't having a breakdown, is she? If she is, do I still get my $2 billion? That evening, as soon as I walked through the front door, a cup of hot tea was thrown directly at me. The tea soaked my shoes. My father roared, "You still have the face to come back here?" Seeing County High crying piteously and my stepmother glaring at me with hatred, I knew exactly what had happened. I ignored them and turned to go upstairs. After all, I was supposed to be deaf. But County High grabbed my arm so violently, I nearly fell down the stairs. No one cared. They all stood there like a jury, ready to condemn me. My father pulled out his phone and typed, "You dare help an outsider bully your brother? Is this how I raised you?" Outsider meant Lu Nhu Yen. He didn't dare touch her, so he was venting his rage on me. This whole family was useless. Seeing my silence, my stepmother turned to my father. "Honey, don't blame the boy. I'm sure he didn't mean it. How could he help an outsider?" Even if he doesn't like us, he wouldn't side against family. I really wanted to keep playing deaf so I wouldn't have to listen to these grating words. I rolled my eyes and typed on my phone for my father to see. I don't know what everyone is talking about. I met County High this afternoon. He apologized and left shortly after. I don't know what happened to him. It was the truth. I hadn't said a single word, but County High cried even harder. I know it's because I'm not good enough that everyone bullies me. I accept that you dislike me, brother, but why let Lou Nhu Yen humiliate me like that? He certainly didn't have this attitude when he was picking a fight earlier, a real snake in the grass. I continued typing, "Father, I can't hear anything." I don't know what was said between County High and Nhu Yen today. My father wavered. It was hard to believe a deaf person like me would actively start trouble. He asked County High, "Did you do something to upset Miss Lou? This boy is usually obedient. Someone must be bullying him." My stepmother denied it instantly. Kohai wailed, "I don't want to live anymore. I might as well jump off the roof." This was his go-to move whenever he didn't get his way, though he never followed through. However, it worked on my father every time. Seeing his beloved woman and son in tears, he stopped caring about right or wrong. A message flashed on the screen. Regardless of whose fault it is, you will apologize to County High. I had faced this countless times growing up, but this time, looking at the man before me, my heart felt like it had been punched. I clenched my fists and then let go. I will not apologize. If you don't apologize, don't blame me for disowning you. Exactly what I was hoping for, I thought. I turned and walked straight upstairs. My father, his authority challenged, flew into a rage. He grabbed a nearby kettle of hot water and hurled it at me. I dodged, but the scalding water still splashed my arm, burning it painfully. In my room, I locked the door to ensure I wouldn't be disturbed and skillfully treated the burn. Just as I finished bandaging it, Nhu Yen called. As soon as the video connected, she signed, "Are you okay? I just wanted to make sure you were still alive." We did this every night, rivals in business by day, but every evening we had video calls to argue in sign language. Nhu Yen frowned. "Why are your eyes red? Something's wrong. Who bullied you?" She was just guessing, but she hit the mark. I couldn't hold back anymore. I hugged my pillow and sobbed. When I finally calmed down, the call had ended. I felt a hollow void in my chest. Just as I was about to sleep, I heard a tap at the window. I opened it to find Lou Nhu Yen clinging to the third-floor window ledge. She must have exhausted herself climbing up. Her clothes were tattered and her face was smudged with dirt. She looked both pathetic and hilarious. Her hands were too busy holding on to signs, so she just gave me a wounded look. I quickly pulled her into the room. "Why are you here?" Nhu Yen didn't even look at my signs. She grabbed my hand. "Who did this?" "Who else but the hot-headed old man in this house?" I replied. Nhu Yen cursed my father. "What a bastard! Didn't you know how to fight back? Or at least dodge?" I shrugged. "I tried, but I wasn't fast enough." My subconscious told me not to show weakness in front of her. She was my biggest rival, after all. But in the next second, she pulled me into a tight embrace. Her soft warmth made my heart race. Then I heard her whisper, "Why do you always let yourself get hurt? It's my fault. I failed to protect you." The tears I had been holding back finally broke. Nhu Yen panicked and signed, "Don't cry. If you don't want to be hugged, I'll stop." She thought I was crying because I was uncomfortable. I laughed, trying to play it cool. "I just heard that hugs can heal the soul." "I knew it. You've always been a softie," she muttered. But she couldn't meet my eyes. Her hands signed that I was arrogant, but her voice lied. "My husband's smile is so beautiful." I took her hand. I felt her body stiffen. Before she could react, I leaned down and kissed her soft lips. It felt just like it did when we were kids, gentle and sweet. The position was awkward, so I only intended a brief touch before pulling back. But Nhu Yen reacted instantly, wrapping her arms around my waist and deepening the kiss until we were both breathless. When she finally let go, her face was flushed. She signed that I was a hooligan, looking like an innocent girl who had been wronged. But then I heard her whisper, "Hubby, you kissed me, so you have to take responsibility. We're getting married tomorrow, right? No one kisses someone they don't like for no reason." It was too much. Afraid I couldn't control my expression, I turned my back to her. But I couldn't hide my smile. Nhu Yan misunderstood, thinking I was avoiding responsibility. She began to ramble. Don't you dare tell me you were just practicing your technique. I won't accept that. You have to take responsibility for me. Hubby, I'm very easy to take care of, really. I wanted her to be quiet for just a second. My ears had only just recovered, and I felt like they were about to go numb again. When I finally composed myself and turned back, she was silent. She sat there, her eyes rimmed with red, tears glistening on her lashes. Because of my father's affair and my mother's suicide, I had never believed in love. I had sworn never to love anyone. But looking into Nhu Yan's eyes, I felt that maybe, just once, love was worth it. Before I could explain, she signed. No need to say anything, I understand. I was just a practice tool for you. I know the rules. You don't have to be responsible. She tried to act tough, but her tear-streaked face betrayed her. I wondered how many tragic scenarios she had imagined in those few minutes. Do I look like the type of guy who just kisses people for fun? I have integrity! I tried to speak, but she stood up and walked away, crying. As soon as she was gone, I felt a wave of regret. Why couldn't I just open my mouth and comfort her? We had spent our whole lives competing, neither willing to back down. I thought about calling her to explain, but my pride wouldn't let me. Finally, I video called my best friend, Tu Luong, who was abroad. As soon as he picked up, he asked, "Has your hearing recovered yet?" "Yeah, it's back." "But wait, how did you know?" "Because when you lost your hearing, your eyes were so clear, untainted by filth. Plus, the doctor said it was only temporary." He continued. "Did you know Nhu Yan almost went crazy when you lost your hearing? She nearly tore the hospital apart, tried to hunt down the driver, and even offered to trade her own hearing for yours. She did all that for me." "You didn't know?" Tu Luong was shocked. I didn't. All I knew was that I was hit by a car that swerved inexplicably and was in a coma for a day. When I woke up, Nhu Yan was there, but I didn't know sign language then. I thought she was there to mock me. "Are you two still that bitter after breaking up? We were never even together." I sighed. "We could have been together tonight, but I missed the chance." "Never together? I thought you were exes who hated each other out of love. I thought you dumped her and she secretly called you, hubby, because she couldn't move on. So why have you been rivals all these years?" I remained silent. I saw her as a rival because she was brilliant. As for my stubbornness, the memories returned. When I was 3, my father's affair began. He stopped coming home. My mother tried everything to win him back, eventually using me as bait. I was constantly injured just to get his attention. Burns, falls. I'm lucky I survived. When those tactics failed, she taught me I had to be number 1. No one loves a failure. On my 10th birthday, I had a perfect score and a math trophy. We waited until midnight. My mother called my father, but a woman answered. My mother hung up, told me to go to bed, and then jumped from the roof. I survived, but I kept the habit of fighting for the top spot, especially against Nhu Yan. To get my father's attention, I was mysteriously injured all the time. One day it was a boiling water burn. The next I was rolling down the stairs. Looking back, I'm lucky I even survived those two. Eventually, those tricks stopped working. As I got older, my mother taught me that I must always win first place. "Only if you are number 1 will your father come back and love you," she'd say. "No one loves a failure." These words were etched into my mind until I was 10. On my 10th birthday, which was also my parents' anniversary, I held a perfect test score and a trophy from an advanced math competition. My mother had carefully applied her makeup and wore a beautiful dress. We sat at the table, waiting for a man who hadn't returned in a long time. Near midnight, the most important day was almost over when my mother finally reached him. But a woman's voice answered the phone. I couldn't hear what she said, but after hanging up, my mother sat in a daze for a long time. Her emotions collapsed piece by piece. She told me to go to sleep, then climbed to the roof alone, and, without hesitation, jumped. My mother was gone, but I had grown used to competing, especially with Nhu Yan. After years of rivalry, we became equally matched opponents. The truth at the bar. My thoughts snapped back to the present. I explained the dramatic events of the past few days to Tu Luong. "What should I do now?" I asked. "Go settle things with Lu Nhu Yen," she said firmly. I hesitated. "Isn't it a bit sudden?" "You're just missing the final move," Tu Luong said, pushing up his glasses. "Listen to me. Put that proud head of yours aside for a moment. Go explain everything to her, or you'll regret it." She was right, but before I could go looking for her, she found me first. I was busy all day, and by the time I finished work, I got a text. "Meet me at the bar. Whoever doesn't show is a dog." I laughed, half angry. "Lu Nhu Yen, is this how you treat your husband?" But I couldn't deny her provocation worked. 20 minutes later, I was at the bar. I definitely wasn't going to be the dog. Inside, she was sitting in a corner, standing out from the crowd. I heard someone in her group ask, "Did Sister Lu fight with the brother-in-law again?" Lu Nhu Yen stared at her phone, opening and closing the chat screen without a word. Another person added, "Sister Lu is so beautiful, she can have any man she wants." "Shut up!" she snapped. She looked up and caught my eye. Her fierce gaze immediately turned tender. She signed, "Why are you just getting here?" In the noisy bar, I could hear her whispering, "Hubby," over and over. She was drunk. She pulled me into a hug and complained, "You finally showed up. Why didn't you just wait until I was dead to collect my body? Wouldn't you be happy then? One less rival to gloat over? You heartless jerk. Even if I'm a ghost, I won't let you off the endurance match." She kept rambling, thinking I couldn't hear. It was too loud, so I dragged her out and drove her to my apartment. I had bought my own place years ago. She sat on the sofa, still drunk, but still signing. "Why did you bring me here? Are you going to try something?" She crossed her arms, acting like she'd rather die than submit. I sat close to her. Her neck turned bright red. She started to sign again, but I leaned into her ear and whispered, "I can hear you now. You can talk to me directly." She froze. Since when? Since you looked at my photo and called me, hubby." She turned away, mumbling, "You heard wrong. I never called you that." "Fine, then I'm leaving. But Nhu Yen, I really like it when you call me that." I winked. She couldn't hold back anymore. She hugged me and kissed me. But just as I got lost in it, she pushed me away. "No, you won't take responsibility." I never said I wouldn't. "I like you too." She fell silent for a long time, then whispered, "Can you write a commitment letter then? To guarantee you'll be responsible for me?" I wrote a short note and gave it to her. She nodded, finally realizing the truth. Sob. "Hubby, it turns out our love was mutual." "If you liked me, why didn't you say so earlier?" I asked. She looked at me with reproach. Quote, "Think back. Sophomore year, I confessed. And you said I was a devious distraction, trying to mess with your head before a competition." I felt a pang of guilt. I actually remembered that. She continued, "I sent you a love letter, and you thought I was bragging about my literary skills. Back then, I thought it was a competition, so I stayed up all night to write 18 letters back, basically saying she was lucky to have me as a rival, but she wouldn't win. Counting on, I just wanted to stand next to you," she said. Her hand strayed to a place it shouldn't have been. I tried to stop her, but she whispered hoarsely, "Hubby, let's have a match." "A match of what?" Before I could react, she leaned down to test my endurance. Lu Nhu Yen won that match completely. The ultimate betrayal. I still hid the fact that my hearing was back. Everyone at the office just thought I was dating the rival director. One day, she handed me the files I asked her to investigate regarding my accident 3 years ago. I had always suspected it wasn't an incident. When I visited my father's house, I overheard County High screaming, "Why does County Yangon get the inheritance? I'm the favorite." As soon as I entered my office, Lu Nhu Yen locked the door. Before I could even react, she pinned me against the wall. "Lu Nhu Yen, what do you think you're doing? This is the office. If we get caught, I'll have no face left." She wasn't ashamed at all. She grabbed my hand and placed it on her body. The sheer reality of the sensation made me flustered. A look of triumph flashed in her eyes. NHU Yen pulled me down into her embrace and rested her head on my shoulder, her voice sounding a bit piteous. "Hubby, it hurts so much here," she said, her finger pointing to her chest. I tried to play along with her sweet lines. "Is it because you missed me so much your heart aches?" Unexpectedly, NHU Yen shook her head. "No, it's because you bit me too hard last night." "Don't say another word!" I hurriedly covered her mouth to stop her from saying anything else outrageous. She refused to stop and playfully nipped at my hand, her eyes full of hidden meaning. "Let me go buy some medicine for you," I said. "In what capacity, hubby? It seems you've lost your memory from the pain. Tell me, what am I to you?" Her small frame hugged me tightly, refusing to let go until I blushed and blurted out, "My girlfriend." Finally satisfied, Lu NHU Yen let me go. "All right, I'll stop teasing you." Then she turned serious. "This is the information on the car accident you asked me to investigate," the Mastermind revealed. "Ever since that car accident 3 years ago that cost me my hearing. I always suspected it wasn't just an incident. After my hearing returned, I went back to my father's house. As soon as I entered, I heard County High screaming in rage, 'County Engon, that bastard! What right does he have to fight me for the family fortune? I'm the son my father loves most.' My stepmother replied, 'Your father is truly senile for leaving all the shares to him.' They had finally realized that my grandfather left his entire stake in the company to me. I was about to walk further down the stairs when I suddenly heard a familiar voice. 'Regardless, he is still my son. No matter what, he must obey me. I am his father.' It turned out my father was also there, all 3 of them. Thinking I couldn't hear a thing, they were loudly and brazenly plotting against me. I stood still in the corner of the staircase, silently observing their ugly faces. 'What if he doesn't listen to you?' my stepmother asked. 'In the future, will County High and I have to wander the streets as beggars?' Kohai immediately burst into tears. 'Dad, I don't want to be a beggar. I'd rather die than let that guy win.' My father spoke, but his voice lacked confidence. In recent years, he had lost control over me. I held the absolute shares of the company and the ultimate decision-making power. Not long ago, I had convinced him to step down to enjoy his retirement, and no one dared to oppose it. My father pondered for a moment. Then a devious smile appeared. 'It's fine. If the son dies, the father has the right to inherit, doesn't he?' My stepmother asked. 'You mean, just like 3 years ago?' I saw my father nod. 'If there was a first accident, there can be a second.' Hearing this, a chill ran down my spine. It turned out the accident 3 years ago was no accident at all. On that deserted road, the car that swerved and drove straight at me was intentional. I hadn't even had time to dodge. Later, while I was in a coma, my father and stepmother signed the settlement papers on my behalf. The drunk driver only paid a few million in compensation and walked free. I had suspected my stepmother, or Kohai. I even thought my father was just covering for them. But I was gravely mistaken. Kohai and his mother were just parasites who knew only how to spend money. How could they design such a complex plot? The true mastermind was my father. The final reckoning, I asked Lu NHU Yen to investigate the driver, Truong Dung. Looking at the thick file, I sighed. It was all about his relationships. Truong Dung was 41, a lazy farmer in the countryside, yet luxury cars often visited him. Looking at his photo, he seemed familiar. He had dropped out after middle school but had a very beautiful girlfriend back then. He supported her through school, but once she graduated, she looked down on his poverty and left him to become the mistress of a wealthy man. NHU Yen and I looked at each other. She nodded. "Yes, that woman is your stepmother." Comparing the dates, it coincided perfectly with Kohai's birth. DNA tests confirmed it. Truong Dung was County High's biological father. My father was raising someone else's son. From the pile of documents, she pulled out a paternity test. The results confirmed it. How hilarious. My father had been raising another man's son all these years. Wouldn't that just kill him to know? Truong Dung was a man who would do anything for money, which made our investigation easy. With just a little cash from NHU Yen, he confessed the entire plan from 3 years ago. My stepmother had paid him 10 million to run me over. Initially, he didn't want to commit a crime, but when she brought County High out and told him the boy was his biological son, his old feelings for her resurfaced. Finding out he had a child made him unable to refuse. Aside from the money, he added one condition. County High had to visit him, his real father, once a month. After getting the video evidence, NHU Yen asked, "Should we go to the police now?" No, I shook my head. 3 years ago, they intentionally caused injury but didn't take a life. These villains would only spend a few years in prison before getting out. That punishment is too light. They want the accident to happen again? Fine, let it repeat. You've truly been terrifyingly calm since you were a kid, NHU Yen remarked. It's true. Perhaps no one else could stay this composed while analyzing a plot to kill them, orchestrated by their own biological father. But then again, nothing they do surprises me anymore. I looked at NHU Yen. She didn't say anything. She just gripped my hand tightly to make me feel safe. The sabotaged gift. Suddenly, my father's attitude changed. He became caring and attentive as if nothing had ever happened. I played along, acting moved, playing the role of the devoted son. On my 27th birthday, he gave me a car, saying it was to make my commute easier. It was a car with sabotaged brakes. Knowing this, I bragged about the car constantly in front of Kohai. Looking at his dark, envious face, I knew my father hadn't shared the plan with him. On a clear, sunny day, I discovered the car keys had gone missing. Since the car was valuable and I had never driven it, NHU Yen and I decided to go to the police station to report the theft. While we were giving our statements, another officer rushed in. There's been a traffic accident on Vinhoa Road. A middle-aged woman was struck and killed. The driver fled the scene. They showed us photos of the scene. The officer recording our report froze and looked at us. Are you sure the car you lost has the license plate 11 to 68? I shook my head. The keys are missing, but the car should still be in my garage. We're reporting it because we're worried about a thief. The police then told us our car and the keys had been found. We arrived at the scene, which was already cordoned off. The preliminary cause, brake failure. How could the brakes fail? I asked the police. My father just bought me this brand new car last month. This is a severe safety issue. The manufacturer must be held liable. The scene of the crime, I then led the police to my father's house to retrieve the purchase invoice. But the moment we opened the door, the stench of blood hit us. My father was standing there holding a fruit knife. At his feet was County High, drenched in blood. It turns out that after causing the accident, County High had panicked and driven home to beg my father for help. In his frantic state, he had no idea that the woman he had just run over and killed was his own biological mother. What a tragedy. Just a few hours prior, I had sent the paternity test proving County High was Truongdung's son to my father. When the news reached him, he was already in a murderous rage. We arrived just in time to witness the horror. The police immediately drew their weapons, ordering my father to drop the knife. I watched it all and allowed a faint smile to cross my face. But a second later, my legs gave out and I fainted. New beginnings. I woke up in the hospital 2 days later. I was fine physically, just exhausted and traumatized. I heard that County High had lost too much blood and didn't make it. My father eventually confessed to everything, from the attempted murder via sabotaged brakes to the killing of Kohai. These crimes are enough to secure him the death penalty. Everything has returned to its proper orbit. Liu NHU, Yen, and I are still rivals in business, but the best of lovers. On New Year's Eve, under a sky full of fireworks, she proposed to me properly. Actually, I should have been the one to propose, so I hesitated for a few seconds. NHU Yen didn't wait. She slid the ring onto my finger and handed me a piece of paper. You aren't allowed to escape your responsibility. I looked at the paper and smiled. Fine, I'll take responsibility for the two of you for the rest of my life.